No, I read a lot of history. In fact, we're working on 6 anthologies of greatest stories from American heritage. So I'm reading a lot. We're working on one on the Civil War, one on World War II. I think my favorite is Scandals, Great and Small, which has been a bread and butter for American heritage. But, you know, there are so many just incredible stories. And, you know, when you read what these people did to build this country, you know, the soldiers in the American Revolution, Bruce Cole is working on building the American Revolution Center now, and that's going to tell the stories are just incredible. When, you know, the American Army, at the moment, Washington was crossing the Delaware, was down to 2,400, you know, men with hardly any equipment. It's just an incredible story. In the Civil War, 600,000 men who died, many of them gruesome deaths, and they kept seeing their friends dying, and yet they still kept fighting for what they believed in. In World War II, we all saw a band of brothers, and so many other stories. The women pioneers, what they went through, the immigrant stories. These are just incredible stories, and I really feel that this magazine, in a way, kind of belongs to them, and we need to keep telling those stories. Especially now, it's interesting, a lot of the other publications, National Geographic and Smithsonian, I notice, have both cut back a lot on American history. So I think we really have an important place to keep telling this story. One thing that's kind of interesting is how many people have come up to me and said they first got interested in American history reading American heritage. A lot of key people in the community, guys like Charlie Bryan at the Virginia Historical Society, Dan Jordan, longtime head of Monticello, Jerry McCoy, who's here tonight, just founded the Silver Spring Historical Society and is doing great things there, and told me that read American Heritage as a boy. Jim Swanson behind him, great author, and wrote a best-selling book on Manhunt, on the search for John Wilkes Booth. And he told me the other day that he can remember the day that he got interested in American history. He read this copy, and Jim, I brought it for you. He remembered the date, and he remembered the cover, and he read this magazine. What was it your grandfather gave you? Grandmother gave it to you, and he got interested in American history, and now he's written one New York Times bestseller, and it's going to be in the next issue. Can I tell him what the piece? It's a piece on Jefferson Davis, and all you inquiring minds out there, you're going to learn whether, in fact, he was caught wearing a dress or not. Albert Small has been introduced, one of our supporters, and it's just, you've been so great, Albert, and thank you for everything. He sends me he's constantly sending me notes, and you should look into this, and they're all good ideas. I think he set the record last year, and by the way, this is a hint to everybody. Albert gave 53 gift subscriptions to American Heritage last Christmas. And I think that's a record. But he sent one of them was to Laura Bush. And the last week she was in the White House, she sat down and wrote him a letter. And Albert sent me a copy of it, and I just want to read one sentence from this. Well, maybe 2 or 3. This is dated January 9th on the White House stationery. I thought she'd be packing then, but, you know. She sat down and wrote this letter. Dear Albert, thank you for the subscription to American Heritage. My family subscribed to this marvelous publication when I was a girl. I vividly remember the special shelf of white hardback volumes and how we eagerly awaited each new issue. I'm pleased to be a subscriber again. But, you know, I often wonder, you know, how many millions of people have been touched by this magazine over the years. And it really worries me. George spoke about the situation in the schools, frequently cutting back on teaching American history. Sturbridge Village, for example, in Massachusetts, has seen its school-age attendance drop in half, because they're not teaching American history in Massachusetts as much. If they're not teaching it there, I don't know where they're teaching it. And Bruce has just released last week an amazing survey, a very troubling survey Now, one of the people who wrote about American Heritage said, the new magazine, the new version is great, but I feel like we're going to get a test at the end of the magazine. So I thought I would ask, I'm going to do a little test here in the audience and ask one of the questions on this national survey, over 1,000 people, right, across the United States.
Yeah, www.americanrevolutioncenter.org. You can take a test and you can download the whole thing.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a show of hands. Let's see how many people get these right. Which event came before the Declaration of Independence? The Civil War. Anybody think the Civil War? Here's a stumper. The Emancipation Proclamation. Before the Declaration? War of 1812? Or the founding of Jamestown? Any hands? Any hands? Founding of Jamestown. Well, here's the shocker. American citizens nationwide, 50% got that question wrong. I mean, there's only 5 answers. It's 20% you'd think would get it just randomly. But yeah, well, it could be. But we're doing some interesting things to do what we can. We have our website, AmericanHeritage.com. We have 13,000 articles. Scott and his team at Forbes did an incredible job digitizing 55 years of magazines, 13,000 articles. Well, we're going back into book publishing. In fact, just in case anybody needs great holiday gifts, my staff thought this was tacky, but I have to pay the bills. So we do have some new books. Actually, they're not new. We've reprinted them. In fact, the World War II book by Stephen Ambrose sold 1 million copies. So it's really a good book. It's a definitive book of the history of World War II. And we have James McPherson and Bruce Catton's history of the Civil War, these are 2 really incredible books. They're about 600 pages. List price is $70, and we're selling them tonight for $40, so it's 43% off. So get them while you can. But we're doing some really great things. We're working on several books. We've just published another book, 299 Things Every American Should Know about history. I was supposed to do 199, but it ended up being 299. So I encourage you all to take a look at some of the issues. We published another magazine called Invention and Technology, which is really a wonderful magazine about the history of invention. We have some really great people on our team, and I just want to introduce a couple of others. First and foremost, our chairman, Bob, can you stand up? Robert Breeden. There he is. Bob is my hero and my mentor and my good friend. He was at National Geographic. Well, built how many divisions? I don't know. The Educational Media Division. Launched 3 magazines, and in the same time also built the White House Historical Association and the Capitol Historical Association. Wanted to thank our board. Bruce Cole is on the board. Is Alan Weinstein here tonight? Is he here? Alan Weinstein, the former archivist of the United States, and Sam Holt. Sam, there he is. The first guy who came forward with a check and encouragement, and appreciate everything you've done for us, Sam. I mentioned Scott Masterson, the general manager of Forbes, who's really been great, and Nina LaFrance. You know, we can put out a good magazine, but if we don't get revenue, and Nina has really turned around. Nina started her career at American Heritage and is now group manager of circulation at Forbes, and has really done a great job this year. And these wires of money keep coming in every Friday. It's really great. Keep it up, Nina. And thank you both. You've both really just been great, and you're great partners, and I appreciate everything. Scott, you've put a whole career into building American Heritage, and I appreciate everything you've done.